So KDH posted a video recently discussing the quote-unquote deception in the advertising of Jackson's neck-through constructed guitars. Effectively, he's stating that because Jackson uses 3 pieces of wood to make the entire neck before putting that into the guitar by gluing body wings to the side, that it is a deceptive practice that is not accurately describing that it is a neck-through. I think KDH has missed the point here, and I think I can prove it with his own video. Watch this clip real quick.
And finally, we have neck-through construction. Some people refer to this as through-neck construction, but it means the same thing. Neck-through and through-neck is the same thing. And all it means is that the piece of wood goes all the way from the headstock through.
Right there. He said the piece of wood. So the argument he makes throughout this video is that gluing 3 pieces of wood together to make the neck through blank before putting it on the guitar is deceptive practice. But he's holding up a guitar right now while saying the piece of wood that has a 3-piece laminated neck. This guitar that he's holding up right now is a Kiesel guitar that has 3 different pieces of wood glued together to make the neck shape, the neck through portion of the neck through guitar that is then added into the guitar. It's the same thing. It already has 3 different pieces of wood, but it gets worse.
And through the body, and not just lengthways, but also
right there. You are looking at a guitar that has a distinct top wood built onto the top of the guitar, meaning that the neck through portion of the guitar is not body thickness. That is the other point that KDH makes when he starts talking about the difference between a set through and a set neck and the way that they don't have the full body thickness. So the example he is using as a true neck through guitar, the proper way of making a neck through guitar, not only is not full body thickness in the body portion, but also has multiple pieces of wood. And for those of you who know anything about Kiesels, you know that that reverse pointed headstock on the guitar KDH is showing you actually has a separate piece of wood glued on the headstock because the headstock is wider than the neck blanks that they use. And that's how they are able to get that big, giant, swooping, pointed shape. If you go on the Kiesel Builder, you'll note that you are required to have an overlay piece of wood over that headstock shape, specifically to hide the joint of that added-on piece of wood. So, in truth, KDH is holding up an example of a guitar that has 4 different pieces of wood that does not get to full body thickness, and he is touting that as the perfect example of what Jackson should be doing instead of using 3 pieces of wood that in most of their guitars actually do go through body thickness, even though there are some examples where it does not. There you can see it again. It's a better angle. The top wood prevents the neck blank from being full body thickness, which is exactly what in this clip, while he's holding up that guitar, KDH is saying a true neck through guitar should be. Don't get it twisted. I am a Jackson fan, and there is a little bit of butthurt going on here. I own multiple Jacksons, Americans, Pro Series, JS Series. That means I've paid attention to Jackson marketing over the years. And I can tell you that Jackson has not been dishonest in the way that they have advertised their neck through construction. Let me pull up a couple listings and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so here's the listing for the new Jackson American Series Soloist SL2MG. This is their American-made, damn near $3,000 neck-through guitar. The Soloist, for those of you who don't know, is the neck-through guitar. It advertises right here in a big bullet point, through body, 3-piece neck. Now here's another Jackson guitar. This is a Concept Series Soloist. They don't actually make these anymore, but it's still on the website and it provides a good example. Note the top here. You don't see the neck going through the top area. You see a top wood. When I click on the picture showing the back, you can see that it actually is a neck through. The neck blank, which is a 5-piece neck blank, goes from the headstock all the way to the end of the guitar. But because of that top wood, it is not full body thickness. But it still counts as a neck through. And Jackson lists it down here as a through body 5-piece neck. Now let's go to something a little bit cheaper. Here is a Pro Plus Series Soloist in the absolutely amazing Amber Tiger Eye finish, which I really, really want. Again, we have a Soloist, which is the neck through construction Jackson guitar, and it has a top wood. You do not see the neck through the body, but on the back, you see the neck goes all the way through. And this is a 3-piece neck, and you come down here and it says 3-piece through body maple walnut neck. So In Jackson's marketing materials, when the neck is made up of different woods, it will tell you which woods are involved. When the neck is not made up of different woods, because it's all maple, then they just say maple, as in the example of the American Series Soloist. But here's the real kicker. Look at this, and this is what I was talking about with the Kiesel headstock shape. When you look at this Pro Plus Soloist, you can see right here that there's actually a fourth piece of wood added on in order to make the thickness of that pointed headstock. Kiesel's doing the same thing. That guitar that KDH held up is doing the same thing. The guitar KDH held up is exactly the same way of construction that this soloist that I'm showing you, this Amber Tiger Eye Pro Plus Soloist. It has 3 pieces of wood glued to make the length of the neck. It has a 4th piece of wood glued to make the headstock shape. So it is 4 pieces of wood, not 1, and it is not the full thickness of the body because on this particular example, there's a top wood that hides the neck materials. So yeah, KDH was off the mark on this one. The exact guitar he used to show you what a true neck-through construction should be is built the exact same way that almost every Jackson guitar is built. Now here's where KDH has a little bit of a point. Jackson's marketing materials don't really tell you where the 3 or 5 pieces are, and you're kind of left to your own devices and your own eyes to look at it and determine. In the examples I just showed you, we saw a 3-piece and 5-piece neck that were obviously the entire length of the guitar, and the pieces were glued lengthwise, the same as the Kiesel that KDH showed, instead of the scarf joint and extra piece down on the body that the American Series uses. Now I'm just on the Sweetwater website and I have filtered for neck through solid body guitars. I'm gonna at random pull out a couple big name brands like ESP, Schecter, Ibanez. These should all be neck through, but I'm looking to see if any of these are going to have similar marketing materials to the Jackson. And to be fair, I'm trying to pick out some that do and some that do not have top wood. Here's a good one, this Ibanez that obviously shows the neck going through. I'm gonna jump to that one real quick. This is actually a new Ibanez Premium that came out. Check it out. So we have 100% neck through going through the end of the body, and it appears to be full body thickness because on the back you can also see it going through, and then top of the neck it goes through, and it does not look like there is a wing. Actually, it looks like it maybe at the very corner below the serial number that there's a additional piece of wood glued on the wing joint, because I can see a little bit of a seam and a slight discoloration as if it's a different piece of wood. And on this point, I don't think it looks like that. So we potentially have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of wood involved in this quote-unquote neck through. If we click the specs and we go down, we'll see that it is listed simply as a neck through, but in the tech specs on Sweetwater's website. But let's see what the copy. Okay, so iconic Wizard neck offers high playability. Since its invention, Wizard, 3rd generation Wizard, is incredibly thin, unfretted movement, and its maple walnut construction provides a stable neck while offering increased sustain and total attack. Cool. So this copy of a Ibanez neck through, while being multiple pieces of wood, doesn't tell you how many, doesn't tell you the type of construction, doesn't indicate whether or not it has a wing piece glued on the headstock, even though that's what it looks like to me. Instead, it simply says neck through, gives you maple and walnut, and it's up to you to figure out which pieces are maple, which pieces are walnut. That's obvious. The dark ones are walnut, but still. Now we got a Schecter. This one I wanted to see because you can tell that it is painted on the front. Can't tell you if that's a top wood or not at this point, but when we look at the back, it appears to go all the way through. It also appears to have 7 pieces. And going up to the top, we have a clear wing added onto the headstock area. You can see where the piece of maple is slightly differently colored, both here at the big bulbous area that pokes out and up at the top, there's a second piece. Those are clearly different pieces of wood, maybe the same piece of wood that was glued on and then they milled the shape. Nothing on that side. So you can tell Schecter's doing it too. We have 8 pieces of wood glued together on this neck. This has binding, so I'm assuming it's a top. Let's see. So it is listed as having swamp ash body, multi 7-ply maple walnut Paduke. Here's what's fun. I told you that there's 8 pieces of wood on here. There are 8 pieces of wood because there was an extra piece of wood added onto the end of that headstock to make the wider shape than what the neck blank was. But it's only listed as a 7-ply. So is Schecter lying about their neck construction too? And when you go to the top of the listing, it says it has an ash body and an ash top. So if it has a distinct piece of wood as the top wood, that means it's not body thickness. So now Schecter is also making guitars in the exact same way that Jackson is, and in the exact same way that Kiesel is, and calling it a neck through just like everyone else. Now here's an ESP. Let's see what they're doing. So we have obviously a top wood. When we look at the back, it's painted over, so I can't tell you whether or not it has a full body length piece of wood. When we look at the headstock, you can clearly see where 2 pieces of wood were joined together. The coloring and the wood grain are distinct. And what's interesting is this goes past the volute and all the way down the neck. So let's see what it says spec-wise. This says 3-piece maple. Okay, this is going to be interesting. So we have a 3-piece maple neck through, and we noted that the 3 pieces are actually, now that I'm looking at it, yes. So look right here. You can see that there is a middle piece, a right piece, and a left piece. They have 3 distinct grain patterns. So this is 3 different pieces of wood glued together, albeit vertically, down the length of the neck instead of any sort of horizontal thing or top and bottom thing. And it is being advertised as a neck through. It does not appear to me that there is a 4th piece of wood added on to make the thickness of the headstock. I could be wrong, but it doesn't look like it. Now we have another Schecter. This is the Schecter C1 Floyd Rose. On the top, you can't tell what's going on. It's fully painted, potentially an actual top. It does say maple walnut Paduke neck, so we're expecting 3 different types of wood. If you click on the picture of the back, we've got full length of the body, apparently, maple, walnut, Paduke, and it does look like it goes maple, walnut, maple, Paduke, maple, walnut, maple, going from left to right. But here's another interesting part. Check it out. Look on the far left and far right of this headstock. You can tell that there are more pieces of wood added onto the edges of the headstock to make the full width of the bottom portion's points. That means even though this is advertised as a maple walnut Paduke neck, and it doesn't necessarily say pieces on the description, I'll check the specs in a minute, we clearly have 9 pieces of wood that went into the construction of this neck through guitar. And because the top is painted, we can't tell for sure that it is a full thickness. But whenever you see binding on a guitar, especially on a carved top, arched top type guitar like this one, you can almost guarantee that it is a distinct top wood, usually maple. So let's go to specs, and it says multi-ply maple walnut Paduke. All right, it says multi-ply. That means you figure out how much wood went into this. That's fine. Now we have a swamp ash body. It doesn't even say what's going on with the top. So we can't tell if this one is or is not a full thickness neck blank. But now we have a ESP LTD baritone, and this one is fully painted, so we can't tell what's going on. Can't really see the wood grain through that satin paint. And we got specs, and we're gonna see it says 3-piece maple, but it's fully painted, so you don't know where those 3 pieces are. Did they do a scarf joint like how Jackson does? Did they do a body thickness building blank the way that Jackson does? We don't know because it doesn't say. But if you remember the LTD M1000 that we looked at a moment ago, it said it was a 3-piece neck, but it actually had 4 pieces of wood. Remember, the headstock had the extra piece added on to build the shape of the headstock. So there you go. Almost all the guitars that you're going to find on the internet or from any brand are going to have multiple pieces of wood involved, and they're going to be done in different ways. Some of them will only have extra wood added to make the width of a cool headstock. Some of them will use multiple pieces of wood to laminate together, and that makes the entire neck blank. Some of them are going to put top woods on, and they're going to remove some of the body thickness on that neck blank. But it doesn't really matter because in the end, neck through really just means the joint type, not the wood construction or wood used or number of woods or where the wood is glued to where. It's just the joint type. Look, I like watching KDH's videos. He does a really good job chasing down fraud and misrepresentations in the guitar industry, and some change has actually come from some of his videos. But this ain't that case. He's suggesting that a true neck-through guitar should be 1 piece of wood where there is no additional wood added to the headstock, and no additional wood added in the body area, and also no additional wood taken out of the body area. because that idea of a one piece of wood that creates that tonal resonance that people seek in the neck through is really the only point of doing it. That means anytime you use multiple pieces of wood, specifically like the Kiesel that he used as his example of a true neck through, where there were at least 4 pieces of wood being used and there was a top wood that took away body thickness, it's just not a true neck through the way he described and the way he said it should be. So it begs the question, if you can take body wings, put them on the neck through, and fill out the shape of the guitar, while the neck through is still just the middle piece, and that doesn't really affect the true neck through tone, then can't you do the same thing with the headstock, where you can add pieces of wood to make the headstock wider so you can make cooler shapes like the Kiesel reverse pointed and the other ones. But also, if you're going to put a top on the guitar and whittle away some of the neck thickness in the portion where the top is, couldn't you also do that on the back? I'm not here to bash KDH. I like what he's doing. I just wanted to put this out so that I could clarify some of the points that he made. I don't want the guitar industry on YouTube to get the wrong impression of what the marketing materials are actually saying. Go watch his video. Watch all of his videos. KDH is valuable information. But please subscribe to my channel. I'm doing guitar reviews and maintenance tutorials here. And then I guess occasionally I'm putting out videos like this where I double check or fact check, whatever you want to call it, some misinformation that I identify. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree with my take on this or if you agree with KDH's take. And then maybe we can start a conversation that helps the guitar industry figure out how to improve their marketing material so that we all know what exactly is going on. Until the next video, see you later.